Welcome back to the Zone Collectibles and More. Today's video will be episode number 4 in our Tales from the Zone series, entitled Toy Story and The Simpsons, a real-world history lesson. Okay, those of you who are new to the channel and aren't sure what's going on with these Tales of the Zone, basically what I do is I try to enlighten you on some of the more interesting conversations or stories about things that have happened here at the Zone that I find really interesting, funny, or possibly very disturbing. It just depends on how you want to take it. Let's start with this one. A few months ago, I'd had about 4 people into the store. Let me set the scene for you. Over by where our Legos are, our Lego section, I had a young gentleman about 16, 17 years old, I'm assuming. I had an older gentleman, older than myself, over looking at the Star Wars stuff. And then I had 2, late 20s, early 30s guys over here by the comic books. Just everybody chilling out. And during the course of our conversation, the gentleman over here by Star Wars said, yeah, he says, you've got some really cool toys. He says, the kids, in these days are really lucky. And I said, yeah, even myself, I grew up in the great era of the 80s toys. But when I was coming up in the 70s as a child and a middle schooler, we didn't have a lot to pick from, but it was still better than what some of the folks who had that came before us. If I wanted something that was really cool and I had a few accessories or some toys, I either had to make the action figures, make the accessories, I had to expand on what I had. And the guys over here in the comic book section was chiming in about the toys that they had when they were a kid and, this, that, and everything else. And we were just having a great big old toy discussion. And the gentleman back over here by the Star Wars section informed me that, he had a different sort of childhood growing up because he grew up on a farm. They didn't have a lot of money. He would tell his mom and dad what, he wanted or what he saw. And they would do the best that they could to find either that item or, birthday, Christmas, make that the big gift for him and that kind of a deal. He said, but when he talked to his grandpa about what he wanted, his grandpa had the same answer every time. His grandpa said, look, when I was a boy, I had to make my own. He took his buck knife, threw it on the ground at the gentleman and said, you know what, go make it yourself. And he was saying about how him and his friends would go through and, they would whittle what they wanted. So, for like cowboys and Indians, he would go ahead and, whittle a rifle or whittle a pistol and, do like a knife. And then, the guys who were the Indians would, they'd try to make bows. And, they would play cowboys and Indians or cops and robbers. They'd go ahead and whittle some guns and, they'd wear like an old piece of, tablecloth, old rags or whatever. They'd make masks for the robbers and that kind of a thing. And I told him, I said, I can relate, coming from an era where, we didn't have a whole lot of money growing up, but you were given the basics. And if you wanted any of the accessories or expansions, you were on your own. The other guys were about the same way. And I'm looking across the store. I see this, the young gentleman who's over there by the Lego section. He's not chiming in. He's got this really confused look on his face. And I asked him, I said, sir, is there anything I can show you or help you with? He goes, no. He says, I'm just a little confused. And I said, okay. And we kept talking. And, I looked back over at the young gentleman, and he's still really confused looking. And I said, are you sure there's nothing I can help you with? He goes, no, maybe I'm just not getting it, but I really don't understand. And I said, okay, understand what? He said, I don't understand what Toy Story has to do with convenience stores and the guy who runs mine down the street from my house. And I took a minute and I said, I'm sorry. He goes, well, Toy Story, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, Disney created Woody. So Disney created cowboys to be in Toy Story. And he goes, I'm not really understanding how that has to do with the guy in the family who does my convenience store. And it took me a minute, and I'm now the one who's looking confused, and I'm not really getting it. I'm getting an idea, but I'm really not getting it because I don't want to believe what I'm hearing. And he goes, well, like the cowboy Disney created. Now he's talking to me like I'm the one who's confused. He goes, the cowboy Disney created. Woody. I said, okay, I got Woody. I get it, the cowboy. I said, but he goes, the convenience store. He goes, do you watch The Simpsons? And I said, yes, I've seen The Simpsons. He goes, okay, what does Woody and Abu have to do with one another? And how would you even play that? He goes, I get the cops and robbers thing, but I don't understand that. And then the light bulb went off on top of my head. Evidently, it was like probably on a Monday, and I was slow on the uptake, I guess. I don't know. But I said, oh, no. No, son, you don't understand. I said, we're talking cowboys like historical cowboys. And then he looks at me dead from across, the shop and goes, historical cowboys? And I said, yeah, like in the Westerns, when the United States was small and we expanded to the West, and horses and cowboys going to the West. And he still has this confused look. And I said, and as far as Indians, we're not talking India Indians. I said, what we're talking about is American Indians. He goes, oh, so Disney got the idea from the people who do football and baseball. And I said, the people who do football and baseball? And he goes, yeah, the Redskins and the Cleveland Indians, like the baseball team. And I went, no. All that stuff is based off of the Western history of the United States, cowboys and Indians. I said, not India Indians. I said, so there was territorial disputes and stuff, and when you played cowboys and Indians, it was kind of like good guy, bad guy, kind of like cops and robbers. And he goes, okay. I said, you still look confused. I said, is there anything I can help you with? And he goes, no. He says, I'll Google it later. He says, but thanks for chit-chatting with me. And he left. So at this moment, I looked totally gobsmacked. I had to have, because I'm like, oh my Lord. I said, can you guys believe what we just heard? The gentleman who was over here in the Star Wars section said, oh yeah, Kev, I get it. He goes, I'm a professor out at DEBACLE. And he goes, I do AP classes. And he goes, honestly, there's a lot of these kids who are in high school, even when they start college, they really have no idea about American history. And, this was an extreme case. He goes, but a lot of them don't know about the history of expanding to the West and cowboys and Indians. He goes, and when you were talking to the young gentleman, I was looking at him, and he was thoroughly confused at the subject we brought up because he had no real point of reference. He goes, but no, believe me, with the way that schools are and even some colleges are, they pick the curriculum. They pick the tone of the books. They pick the era that they want to concentrate on. They gloss over other things. They magnify different things that fit the school's agenda or the population's agenda who lives in that particular school district. He says, but no, by all means, he wasn't trying to pull your leg or our leg. He was really confused because we threw him for a loop today. And the other two gentlemen, he says, like my niece, I try to bring up things when she's, talking about history in her class, and we're bringing up things, in a family discussion, and she has that same look like, well, it wasn't in the book. I don't know what you're talking about. I hope you all found this one extremely enjoyable. And remember, when we're discussing with folks, don't take for granted that they know what you know, because sometimes, due to our age, our experience, we have points of reference that some other folks don't have. So whenever you're having discussions, please keep in mind that communication is key. And if you can take away a little something, the other person can take away a little something. Everybody learns a little something. And we can all share our experiences, which makes us all richer in the long run. But I hope you've enjoyed it. This has been me, Kevin, the resident RM, here at The Zone. signing off. Over for now, but never ever out. Have a great day, and let's keep those fandom flags flying, y'all.